Something's happening. So this is where our basting tape failed. Hey everybody, Corbin here, leather specialist at Sailrite. And the other day I was researching for a video dealing with glue, and I went deep down the YouTube rabbit hole to figure out what is the best leather glue. And so today we're going to empirically test, using our good friend the scientific method, which glue really is the best and the strongest and what might be best for your next project. Our primary focus today is going to be comparing contact cement with the white water-based glues. And I've gone ahead and selected my favorite glues from these categories, which are the S18 all-purpose adhesive for the contact cement category and the Fiebing's leathercraft cement for the white glue. And for reference, this S18 is very similar to barge cement, which you've probably seen before. It's a very popular choice. I'm also going to throw a couple of wild cards into our test just because I'm curious to see how they're going to perform. That's going to be our CushionRite foam and fabric adhesive, because sometimes a spray adhesive for big panels is just super convenient. And then also basting tape, which a lot of people use to put different panels together before sewing. So let's see how all these stack up against each other. So circling back to the scientific method, my question is, what is the strongest glue, and numerically, how strong are these glues relative to one another? So here is my hypothesis. I have these swatches laid out from strongest to weakest, and just a couple rules of thumb that we're testing today. You'll see the S18s, they're up here at the top because all-purpose adhesive is typically what people think is the strongest, and then the Fiebing's leathercraft cement is towards the middle, because it's a little less strong, but it's typically easy to work with and has no odor. This has an awful odor, so you have to have a well-ventilated room. And then lastly, towards the bottom is our spray adhesive and our basting tape. And just before we rig up the first one, pause the video and go in the comment section. And if you disagree with me, if you think one of these will be in a different spot than the other, let me know, because I'm really curious to see what other people's experience are and what you think is going to perform the best. So here is the setup for our experiment. I've prepared these 1 1/4 inch by 5 inch leather swatches, and I've applied glue to both sides of the pieces and let them dry overnight. So everything should be well dried and ready to go. And we're going to be using these bean bags as our way to measure how much they can hold. They each weigh about a pound. Let's confirm that here. Hopefully within 1/10 of a pound or so. 1.02, close enough for me. So each of these is worth a pound, and that'll be the way that we test this out. And now we come to the very scientific, very professional part of the video, where we use our high-tech couple of straps, couple of hooks, and a shopping basket. And we'll rig the leather up here, and it'll pull it apart, and we'll see how many bean bags it takes to rip the glue apart. So let's start off at the bottom of our list. The one that I hypothesize will be the weakest. That's going to be the basting tape. You can already see it's wanting to come apart. Start off with one bean bag. It's actually kind of satisfying. 2 bean bags. 3 bean bags, 3 pounds. Actually doing better than I would have expected. 4 bean bags. And it's not broken yet, so we'll move on to the blue ones. I didn't think it would make it this far. That's 5 pounds. And just to get us the rest of the way, I think 6 pounds is gonna do it. And that was basting tape. 6 pounds, not too bad. So next is gonna be our Fiebing's without any roughing. Whoops. First bean bag. No movement yet. It's 3 pounds. 4 pounds already. 5 pounds. 6. Something's happening. So this is where our basting tape failed. So so 6 1/4 pounds, we'll call it, for the Fiebing's with no roughing. Next victim is going to be the CushionRite spray adhesive, which isn't technically for leather, but I've done some tests and had some decent results. So let's see how it stacks up. First bag. 3 bags, no movement yet. 4 bags, still nothing. 5. 6 pounds. 7 pounds, so it's beaten the last one. 8 pounds. 9 pounds, and there it goes. All right, so that was 9 pounds for the spray adhesive, which is a pretty good amount of hold for something that's a quick and easy solution to cover a wide surface area. So I'm pretty optimistic about that. I'm gonna have to use that one in a project soon. Next up is the Fiebings with the 5 minute of set time. The mark to beat is 9 pounds. First bag. Looking solid at 4 pounds. 5, 6 pounds. 7, 8. There's 9. There's 10. So my hypothesis is on a good track so far. 11 pounds. 11 pounds. Now we've got our first contact cement contender. We've got the S18 with no roughing. First bag. I'll just speed through these. Surely it can get more than 4 pounds. 5 pounds. 6 pounds. The mark to beat is 11 pounds. There's 7, 8. There's 9, 10. Number 11, there's 12, and we have eclipsed our number of bags. So let me find another unit of measure. Can it take more? I think it's toast. All right, 12 bags. Okay, so the S18 without roughing was 12 pounds. We have 12 bean bags, so I've now enlisted some help of a couple of miscellaneous objects. We've got a 4-pound bookend and a 2-pound weight, and so we'll use those because these should be stronger than 12 pounds. So let's go on to the next one, which is the Fiebings. Start off with the 4 pounds because surely it can handle 4 pounds. Ooh, maybe not. 6 pounds. 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds. 10 pounds. So my hypothesis is broken. That did not perform as well as the S18 with no roughing. I almost made a cocky comment before this segment. Now it's broken, so there's that. Let's continue on with that test. Next up is the S18, where I put them together immediately, which is not what the back of the bottle says. You're supposed to give it a few minutes to dry and set before you tack it. So yeah, let's see what happens with the immediate S18. Start off with our 4-pound to get started. 6 pounds. 7. Wow. So 7 pounds, if you don't follow the directions on the S18, you're not going to get a very good bond. Moving on to the S18 with 15 minutes of setting time, which is what the back of the bottle says. So we'll see how that performs. 4-pound starting point. 6 pounds. There's 7, 8, 9 pounds, 10 pounds, 11, 12. All right, 12 pounds for that one, which is actually equal to our leader right now. So 12 pounds was the S18 with no roughing, and so it equaled that. So roughing didn't have a huge effect on the S18's performance. Second to last is the S18 with 5 minutes of dry time. 5 minutes is what I've used for years because I'm impatient and I don't like to wait the 10 or 15 minutes. So let's see if I've been doing it right or wrong for the last few years. 4 pounds, 6, 7 pounds, 8, 9, 10 pounds. All right, and now I know that only held 10 pounds. So my 5-minute impatient has led to some less strong projects over the years. So that's a good tip for me to know and hopefully for you to know as well. All right, our last thing to test is the S18 with 2 coats. And I did a first coat, let it cure for 20 minutes, and then I hit it with another coat and let that cure for 5. And that allows the S18 to really get into the porous fibers, and then that cured just a little bit, and then did another surface coat. So hopefully that'll make a difference. At least I hypothesize it will. Start off with our 4-pound weight. 6 pounds, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Our mark to beat 12 pounds. Still looking pretty strong. 13 pounds, 14 pounds, 15, 16, 17, and still not a lot of movement up there. 18 pounds. We've ran out of weights again. That thing is very strong. We'll weigh this after the fact. I'm gonna guess this is 3 pounds. So 18, we'll say this 21-ish. It's a big jump. All right, so somewhere between 18 and 21, way outperformed everything else we've got. If you need a really permanent bond, 2 coats of that S18 is gonna be a great option. So let's take a look back at my hypothesis, and you'll notice that I only got 3 out of 10 perfectly right. I was in the right ballpark. I was maybe 1 or 2 off on 6 out of 10, and then 4 of them I just completely missed. I whiffed completely and was pretty way off base. So I learned a lot of stuff from this experiment. So the S18 contact cement predictably topped the charts, but we learned that if you don't give it adequate time to dry and join the pieces immediately, then the performance drops off pretty significantly, even below the Fiebings. And so follow those instructions on the back of the bottle for the contact cement. Roughing has a significant effect on those Fiebings white glue samples. The sample that we did not rough dropped off by 43%. As opposed to the one that was roughed, so that's important. The spray adhesive and basting tape were at the bottom of our chart like expected. Although they're not far behind the real glues, they performed pretty well, I would say. My biggest takeaways are, firstly, to give contact cement more than 5 minutes to dry. A lot of times I get impatient and I would just do a 5 minutes as my rule of thumb. I'm probably gonna double that now in the future. My second takeaway is to not be afraid to give CushionRite or other spray adhesives a try. It performed pretty well relative to the other glues, and it'll be great for larger panels. Third is going to be, do not forget to rough the sides of the leather when I'm using white glue, because that really affected the performance. Next is going to be to never immediately join the contact cement because it severely impacted the performance. It went from top of the charts to near the bottom when I immediately joined it and didn't follow the instructions that are written on the back of the bottle. And lastly, for the best possible permanent bond, like we saw in our test, the 2 coats of contact cement is hard to beat. It had a ton of holding strength, so if you're ever doing something that needs a permanent bond, you're putting 2 pieces together and not planning on sewing them, I would definitely recommend using that method. A quick disclaimer before we finish the video. Today we tested the strength of these glues, and the strength doesn't necessarily mean it's the best glue, but it is an important factor. But for different use cases, you might need a different type of glue. But I hope you learned something. Maybe you found out, like me, that you weren't using one of these products in the most optimal way and got some useful information out of it. So if you like this sort of video, definitely let us know in the comments what other type of products you want us to test out, and we'll see you in the next one.